Might as well laugh early in the meeting.
Your wife's gonna find out you're gonna be in trouble.
Not quite yet.
Call the Lamar's City Council regular meeting to order Tuesday, March 1st at 12 p.m. Would everybody please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we have roll call, Bev?
Nelson?
Yes.
Knapp?
Yes.
Rexinger?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Witt?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Council members, I want to make a little adjustment here in the program. The next would normally be a hearing on our budget, but I've asked Shirley, our library manager, to come up and talk about her annual report first. So, Shirley, would you please?
Thank you for your time. I have the green folder that put together some things about the library. Just a few ways to point out that the public library contributes to the economic development, early literacy, and school readiness, and supports a high quality of life here in Lamar's. Our children's librarian is a great community asset. Lisa, along with Michelle, provide over 400 children's programs, which over 8,000 people attend. And these programs include monthly visits to daycares, preschools, story times, after-school programs, and of course, the summer reading program. Research shows that investment in early literacy promotes higher achievement in school. The library is the place where many people come to check email, fax employment documents, and make copies to complete forms. It's also the place where many people fill out online job applications. Some take online exams or have a test proctored. For people who are new to town, the library is often one of the first stops to ask for information and services. In addition, the library brings people to the downtown. Last year, over 79,000 walked through our doors. Some people stop at the library to pick up books, DVDs, tax forms, or attend one of the 186 community meetings that were held there. And the library is one more reason for people to visit Lamar's. Lamar's was recently listed as number 6 of the top 10 main streets in Iowa, and the library was referenced in that designation. In the packet, you will see a few items. There's a colorful sheet that is the highlights of our statistics. There is also the full annual survey that we submit to the state each year. There's a list of library trustees, a list of the various services that the library provides, and a letter of thanks. I also included an excerpt from a study by the Urban Libraries Council that talks about the importance of public libraries. I do have that whole 30-page report. If you would like to see it, I can get it to you. But I would also like to take this opportunity to say thank you to many of the people who are at the back of the room today. During the past year, the library staff has received support and training and also a story time from the fire department. This summer, our theme was Every Hero Has a Story, so the kids walked over to the fire station for one of their programs. During the past year, the library staff has received support and training from the fire department, also the police department, and also the ambulance department have been part of we have relied on them for some of our services. While we take our drinking water and wastewater for granted, we couldn't be a Tier 3 library without them. The staff at City Hall are exceptional to work with while handling our invoices and tracking the budget. And finally, it's important to thank Brad and Scott and their whole crew. When we have called, they've always tried to get there as soon as possible. In particular, I want to make a note of last June when they came and they did the grounds for the library. They spent several days, long days of working on that shrubbery, the rocks, and the general appearance of the library, and I want to thank them for that. Ultimately, like all city departments, the library is here to serve the citizens. By state statute, this body only needs to provide $21,699 in funding. We always ask for more. The council has provided more. We may not always get what we ask for, but we do the best with what we receive. Personally, I've tried to stay within the budget allocated. A city of almost 10,000 needs a good quality library with a wide variety of services and programs. The library staff are working hard as a team to provide services that enhance the lives of seniors, young families, job seekers, and lifelong learners. We strive to meet the needs of the taxpayer, whether they read ebooks on vacation, listen to audiobooks while driving a truck, use our children's collection for homeschooling, or just read. Because reading makes you smarter, improves concentration, develops a vocabulary, and reduces stress. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Shirley? Shirley, that's a very fine report. We appreciate your efforts into that, and what makes me feel good is it looks like we're all working as a team together with the fire department, Public Works, the police department, and everybody else. Thanks for recognizing us. We appreciate it. Okay, moving on to a hearing. B1, it's on our budget. At its February 16, 2016 meeting, the council accepted the proposed fiscal year 2016-2017 budget with a mill levy of $13.50 and established this date and time to hear public comment regarding said budget. And by the way, that $13.50 is the same as what we've had for quite a number of years. We haven't raised any taxes. I wanted to make sure that was put in there, Rex.
I appreciate the comment.
The required notice has been published. The mayor, at this time, I'm going to open the meeting, or open the hearing, and ask for any written or oral objections or comments on the budget. I'll ask once again that I open the hearing and ask for any written or oral objections or comments on this budget. Hearing none, at this time, I'm going to close the meeting, and since there's no objections received,
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 16-2, adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2017.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and second, adopting Resolution 16.2, adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017. Can we have a roll call on that, Bev?
Good Jones?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Knapp?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to, as mayor, I want to thank everybody, our staff, our supervisors of every department, and particularly you council members here. I know there's been a lot of time and effort put into this over the last 6 weeks or 2 months, and I want to thank all that you've done for your time and talents on it. Okay, moving on to general discussion. If anybody has any comments regarding the concerns, good comments about the town or anything like this at this time, we ask you to stand up to the podium, state your name and address, and the council cannot act on anything, but they're always willing to certainly listen to any comments you may have. Hear none, we'll move on to Thumbs Up Award. John?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Clark?
I think you've all heard about this by now, but I really want to restate it. Charles City Girls Bowling Team was down at state bowling against Lamar's, and there was an error that was discovered 12 hours or 6 hours after the tournament. The officials didn't even catch it. But the Charles City Bowling Team came forward, I think it was 6 pins, and said that third place really should go to Lamar's. So we hear so much crap about society that when something like this happens, I think it just needs a extra thumbs up. So I just wanted to give that to the Charles City Girls Bowling Team.
Thank you, Clark. Nice comment. Rex?
Give my thumbs up to Mr. Kirkhoff for coming back home so that I can move to this other city.
You don't know how
There was a few people in the audience out there that were at the last marathon session, so I'm
You
glad he's back.
you don't know how close I came and not coming back at all.
That's just a personal thumbs up.
Right, Ken?
I'll pass, thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the consent items. All items listed on the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on those items unless a request is made prior to the time the council votes on the motion. Today, we've got 5 of them. Number 1 is approval of the February 16, 2016 regular meeting minutes. Number 2 is a list of bills for the period ending 2/29/16. And number 3 is the renewal of the liquor license, the Green Tea Asian Bistro. Number 4 is a community Easter egg hunt. And number 5 is surplus property. Is there any council members want to pull any of these before we vote on them?
Motion to approve consent items 1 through 5.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the consent items 1 through 5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the action items. Rezoning of the property. At its February 16, 2016 meeting, the council held a public hearing regarding the proposed rezoning of 411 9th Avenue Southwest and approved the first reading of an ordinance rezoning the property from R1 to General Business B2. The property is owned by Noram Cold Storage, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended the rezoning at their January 12, 2016 special meeting. The staff recommends approval of the second reading of the ordinance. Is there any questions or comments on this? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Oh, excuse me. Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Excuse me.
My name is Mary Kay Jewell, and I live at 317 8th Avenue Southwest. And I'm here representing residents over by, in the vicinity of Noram and residents adjacent to Noram Cold Storage along 8th Avenue and 4th Street. And I know you had received an objection and petition letter 2 weeks ago. And so we, as residents, feel like we want to continue that objection. We feel that our complaints that we gave you and everything is related to the rezoning. It's all the concerns and complaints all are related to that same issue that Noram is going to expand. So that's why this is all related. And so there was a meeting yesterday with all of us residents, some of you city council members, and along with a NORAM representative, which again, I want to say as last night, repeating, thank you so much for that meeting, and it was very much appreciated. Anyway, some of the potential plans that they gave us, there was questions, that we had, that we got some answers, but we're still very, very concerned. The possible expansion, which they plan on doing, for example, the concerns are still the truck traffic, the noise, the exhaust, the diesel fuel that's going to travel along that 8th Avenue and 4th Street is still very much a concern with everyone. Those are residential streets and homes. And also, we found out the new expansion is going to have a height of 57 feet, which is 5.5 stories, which compared across the street over here, Wells, that's frightening a lot of us. And so when we heard that, a lot of us cringed after leaving the meeting. We weren't sure how to take that. So we think, when you look over there by Wells there, and there's the view is terrible, and a lot of the homes, it's an eyesore, and some of the homes aren't being taken care of anymore because of that big building. So that's also, our concern of what's going to happen across the street from our homes. And is it going to affect our value again, which is a big concern also. And until we see and know more concrete plans, and especially what NORAM, the expansion is going to look like, we the residents still, like I said, are very concerned. And hopefully with another meeting with everyone like we had yesterday and some negotiations that we had, that, this can still work, and hopefully, like they say, they want to be good neighbors. So if that's the case, hopefully that happens. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say that, and I haven't been involved in all of it, but as mayor of this town, I think you can see, we're trying to reach a mutual agreement between you people and between NORAM. This is our whole objective. Our objective today is just on the zoning, okay? Some of the things you're bringing up gets into nuisance. That's a total different ballgame. But we've been working on this program for about 90 days now, I think. And it's about time we get her put to bed, one way or the other. And I say that is because you cannot believe the time that we've spent on this, which I respect what you're doing, and I respect you very highly, and you've been very, very good about it. But at the same time, we're running up an attorney bill, and which is fine, we're willing to do it. And I think we have done everything, as far as the city, I say we, as far as the city, I think we have done every move legally. We went back, I know you questioned us on some stuff, and we went back and checked it to make sure we were legal. And we have done this. And yesterday, a meeting was organized for you people, and I thought I was at the meeting, and I thought it went very well. I mean, the questions that were asked, I think Bernie, the assistant manager down there, did a tremendous job of explaining how that program is, or how that building is going to be built, how the dust would be handled and everything like that. The only thing coming out of that meeting that I caught was that you were still concerned about, or one of the things, the main thing, was the noise. And we even went from 7 outlets down to 2 on the noise. And I guess what I'm saying is, we need to put this to bed one way or another fairly soon. I don't know how the council members feel. They're the ones that are driving the bus. But as far as I'm concerned, enough's enough. Okay. Any questions from the council?
This, once again, the rezoning is moot, because they can do what they can do with or without this action. And like he said, we've been trying to clean the zoning footprint up for 90 days. So, I mean, I'm for this. But I've been thinking about you guys a little bit, and one thing that I wanted to ask you was the flip side to NORAM doing an expansion and improving the property. One of the flip sides would be, what if they closed it? What if now you have a dilapidated building that's boarded up? Graffiti, dark area. I'm not so sure that an expansion is necessarily going to deflate your values. It most certainly can, but it can also improve it. It can also improve your values. And the other thing that I was thinking about was, I have no idea, I haven't done any study, I'm not going to do a study, but I'm guessing that almost 100% of the residents across the street from here have moved there since Harker's first built there. So the potential for expansion has been in everybody who's bought property since Harker's built there. Went in there full well knowing there was industrial across the street from them, business across the street from them. So I guess at this stance, I'm 100% for the rezone. You know, and if they're working together, I didn't know anything about the meeting, and that's fine and dandy. I'm glad that NORAM, because Rex said it last week, he said, let's sit down, let's work together. And I think that's the key here. But I think it could actually improve your property, guys. I really do. So with that, you know, that's my comments.
Thank you, Clark, on that. And again, we sincerely respect what your thoughts are, you know, and what you're doing. Any other questions from any others? I'd entertain a motion.
Dick, a point of clarification. Yesterday's meeting had to do with the notice of objection that was filed, which has a number of nuisance complaints contained within it.
That's right.
And yesterday's meeting was to address those, both past as well as future. I just want to make sure it's clear, yesterday's meeting was not about the zoning.
Right. It was more on the nuisance side.
Well, I mean, that has to be an open, publicly advertised meeting, and that's today.
Thank you, Scott. Any other questions or any other
I
comments?
just make one more comment. I was at the meeting and kind of followed this through because obviously it's in my ward. NORAM has come forward with several positive things, and one of them is the direction of travel, where the docks will be on the backside. I think on that issue, I think the neighborhood felt quite a bit better after hearing that. There's still 2 docks on the east side that is a noise issue, and they were going to come back in their preliminary plans again and to see if, what is possible to knock down some of that noise on that side. But I felt it was a very positive meeting. They've bent over backwards to accommodate. The compressor areas will be enclosed up there, so I think that some of those noise issues from the compressors were eliminated. So hopefully we'll continue to work in the next couple of weeks. We'll get a preliminary plan, see how they've incorporated your ideas before we get to that final vote.
And I'm sure any construction they do will be done under very strict safety requirements and
Yes.
whatever requirements are imposed
It
by
was brought out yesterday.
by regulating authorities, so.
Okay. Ma'am?
Yeah, Diane Halls, 335 8th Avenue Southwest, and I agree with Mary Kay. We appreciated that meeting yesterday. It answered a lot of questions. I guess it's just, we just want you to know that we aren't all satisfied. You know, I mean, we're addressing them as we go, but I don't want to go down the road, and once they get under construction, they're spending a lot of money. And I don't want to say, oh, you know, I don't like the noise. And I want it known we aren't completely happy yet, and we're still trying to work with that. So we just wanted to set the ground rules and say, we appreciate what they're doing, and we're going to keep trying to work together, but we just want everybody to know
Okay.
that not all the issues have been resolved.
Okay, well, we appreciate your comments on that.
Thank you very much.
And like I say, I think there's been a lot of progress made. I really do. But we got 2 more weeks to go, and we'll find out.
Motion approving the second reading of the ordinance number 932, amending zoning districts.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second, approving the second reading of the ordinance 932, amending zone districts. Do we have a roll call on that, Bev?
Yes.
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 Motion carried. Okay, moving on to number 3, which is the, excuse me, funding recommended by the CVB Advisory Board.
E2, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I jumped over one here, didn't I? Got to get better organized, Rex.
Yeah, we gotta do the equal first.
Yeah,
and then
you're
we'll do
right.
the rest.
Excuse me. Funding request, Westmeyer University Alumni Friends Association. Council tabled the funding request received from the Westmeyer University Westmeyer University Alumni and Friends Association, WAFA, to this meeting. Attached is a written request. A $10,000 donation has already been funded, the sculpture itself. The staff recommends that the association first conduct their fundraising efforts and seek other grant opportunities, and then report back to the council. Comments on this funding request for Westmar? Anybody? Have they been funding? I mean, have they been out raising money, or does anybody know?
I made the comment, you weren't here at the last meeting, but I made the comment I didn't want to use sales tax dollars for the donation if indeed we decide to go do a donation, but other than that.
And then, since Jessica's in attendance, I can say this out loud, you know, whether, all the dollars probably shouldn't come from hotel motel either, because it's not necessarily a tourist attraction that's gonna put heads in beds. But on the same token, if it's a $2,500 or something like that from hotel motel, it's probably a reasonable request as long as they have other monies they raise. So similar to these other things that we'll do in E3, when people put their money forward, then hotel motel is willing to share some of the cost. think we got a meeting this Thursday. I'll get yelled at, right, at 5:30 for saying what I did? But that's all right. Just put it down on the agenda, but we can talk about it at that. But that's what we've done in the past, and that's what you'll see on the next list of items, is that all those people contributed. Otherwise, hotel motel wouldn't have put the money forward too. So I think we need to have a shared deal. So instead of just a simple ask, I think it's got to be some kind of a listing that says, here's where you got the monies from, and then what we need at the end. Does that seem to make sense?
And there is funding in hotel motel? Just
There
for
is
even a part of it?
There is some part, yeah. I mean, we've always tried to, John, to hold back a little bit, and then we've been very fortunate last year that we had a lot of heads in beds.
Can we go back to them and say, you come up with 7,500 and we'll match your 7,500 of the remaining 15,000 and just match it?
We can, but I'm not sure I can do that until we meet as a hotel motel, because we've got people on there, that are volunteering time and hours, so we don't want to do anything, outside the box.
Okay, that's
I'm
fine.
just a liaison to it, but I kind of have a big voice there. So I think it'll work, but we got to see what we got left over.
And their request was 10 from us, wasn't it?
Right.
Right, and
Is 10,
that's
is
why I was
10.
thinking maybe something would come from the council, something would come from hotel motel. I didn't know where it come from on the council, but I think there has to be, I think we have to have more proof of where they're getting their monies or some other donations other than just a couple. We got to see where it's coming from.
My question in reading through this, what about the maintenance of this program? Are they?
She mentioned that last week. She said that they were gonna have a fund for ongoing maintenance too. She said something about ongoing maintenance. Are you talking of the sculpture itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she brought
Gotta be
something up
lighted,
about,
right?
am I right on that, Scott?
It is stated in the second to the last paragraph of their letter that you have before you, that it would to be also to establish a fund for ongoing maintenance.
Right, yep, you're right.
Yep. So, yeah,
Is
your
this-
memory's right, Clark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is this Eagle or whatever it is going to be lighted and all that?
I believe so. I believe there was lighting involved.
Okay.
Yeah, it says electrical connections to light the sculpture at night.
Yep.
But I'm understanding you, Rex, to say, let's delay this one more meeting and you'd see what's available in
I would like them
hotel,
to,
motel.
a little bit more than just the saying 10 and 10 and 10 and 10. Maybe list out, here's the 6 places we're getting money from so that we can see that. We can go through kind of our deal this week and figure out what monies, if any, we got available in hotel motel, and then bring it back, and then we still may need some council monies other than local option if we want to match 7,500 or 10,000.
I think the overall feeling is we're all positive towards this
Well, I mean,
project, yeah.
I think it looks like a nice deal in addition. It's just that I think we all are a little nervous about getting involved in this, coming every meeting with somebody coming with a new plan and a new thing.
Right.
And that's why we did community betterment the way we did community betterment. Is when people keep coming for things, we can't do that. It doesn't work in our normal budget.
Right.
We have a hard enough time funding our budget as it is. So if we want a bunch of things, then we got to do it through some funding mechanism. We just can't come up with money. We're not rabbits and hats and stuff like that. We can't pull them out of each other.
Okay.
So you want to recommend just table it right now?
I would like to recommend table it, but then go back to the group that's
Group,
asking,
yeah.
and Corey Eiserbrand and the group, and have him come up with kind of a preliminary budget and where the monies are coming from to show us what's left over.
Okay,
And,
is the council in agreement
works
on
for
that?
me.
Good. All right.
Because then it doesn't just say we're delaying it, we're
No.
actually asking for some information to make the right decision.
Hopefully, the publicity, maybe there'll be some other people step forward that
Right.
want to participate and bring that cost down.
Okay,
And you got that on the agenda for Thursday there, Miss Madam Secretary? Okay.
Okay, moving on to action item 3, funding recommendations by CVB Advisory Board. At its February 16, 2016 meeting, council acknowledged the receipt of the Convention and Visitors Bureau Advisory Board's recommendations for fiscal year 17, project funding, and tabled action at this meeting to allow citizen input. Letter and list are attached. As the preparation of the agenda, no comments has been received. Is there anybody out there that would like to visit about this CVB program anymore?
I think we got about 80,000 in request or something like that. The funding is the 35,993 for these 15 items. The committee is a bunch of very active, strong-willed members that voice their opinions, spend 3 hours, 4 hours trying to figure this out, and they do an exceptional job. So, motion approving Convention and Visitors Bureau Advisory Board recommendations for FY17 project funding in the amount of $35,993.
Is there a second?
So moved.
Can I have one question
Sure.
on this? Lamar's Municipal Park Shelter Kitchen update. I'm not opposed to it at all, but I do know that that is also, that shelter house is part of CBP 2. Is this money on top of money, or is that something that would, conflict each other?
I thought this money would roll into CBP.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. I was
That was the
just,
intent.
I just didn't
My
want
intent,
to
yeah.
do some upgrades, and then 2 years later, we rip the countertops out and start over.
No,
you
it's
know?
all
Oh, I
part of the-
agree.
all
We're
part
not
of
gonna,
the-
we're not gonna do that.
It's
Yeah.
supposed to
Total
roll in,
renovation.
but if it's not rolling in, there needs to be some upgrades done now.
Good enough, all right,
I
that's
mean,
fine.
it's bad enough that it needs to get done. That's why we said.
That was my question.
Any other questions? Motion made and second. Approving Conventions and Visitors Bureau Advisory Board's recommendations for the amended and for fiscal year 17 project funding in the amount of $35,993. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Before we move on, are we open on the basement at the convention center?
We got our first event there with full service this Saturday.
And everything looks perfect?
Beautiful.
And the people from the city did an exceptional job? Isn't that what you were going to say?
Yes.
Okay.
2 of them are sitting in the
Well,
back.
that's why I thought I would ask while they were sitting there. Just wanted to make sure we got the positive comment out there, but.
You guys can sit back up in your chairs now.
I do know that I worked the caucus down there, and I had no less than a couple dozen people say, boy, this is gonna be nice.
Yeah.
It is very nice down there, so
Well, they did a
I
nice-
was very pleased.
Did a nice job upstairs, too, so.
Yep, I haven't been up there.
And thanks so much to our Public Works people, because they did put a lot of effort and time and
Yeah, absolutely. That's-
process
that's
in
why I
there, so
thought
we
it was
we appreciate it.
Good news travels.
Good point, Rex.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to, excuse me, the Lamar's Police Department building. CMBA architects have completed their Phase 1 analysis as per contract. The Police Building Committee has met several times with the CMBA to provide input into the two schematic designs so that the Phase 1 analysis could be accomplished. Phase 1 compared a functional design for the new police station utilizing the existing building shell to be completely new building. Today, we have Brent Koch, right, and Todd Moss, both from CMBA, who's our architects, will be presented at the meeting to discuss the analysis and show designs, sites, plans, cost, and estimates. And when they get finished, I want to ask Scott to visit a little bit about the funding of where we're coming from, so that everybody's on the same page and we all know what we're doing. Okay? So, Brent? I gotta move?
Yeah, we want to move that pot. too,
Otherwise, you
that
might
coffee
be in
pot.
the police.
I don't want to.
Yeah,
You gotta-
there you go.
Got a key to get in that police station, but none to get out. Is that all right?
We wanted to thank you for the opportunity to work on the study with Scott and the police department. And we just want to give you a quick overview of the process that we did go through. And this is kind of just listing the requirements. So we did a program of spaces. Basically, we developed, we started with a program of spaces that was, I think, around 10 years old. And then the chief of police reviewed that and kind of updated it about 5 years old, so it was still kind of outdated. So we reviewed that entire program again. We talked with all the users of the police department. We sent them a survey that told them, or asked them, describe their current space, ideal space, any changes of what their job would be in the future. And we took all those surveys, and then through the several meetings, we developed a list of programs, a list of spaces that the building needs to contain, and then the size of those spaces. And then we moved on, as that was read, we developed a concept reusing the existing building that's on site, as well as I got a floor plan and a site plan for a new building on site. And then we also looked at the cost estimates, and then as the committee met, we did form a recommendation for you. So kind of going through, this is, I'm not going to ask you to read any of that, but basically this is the space program. So all down here, here's a list of spaces, and then here's a list of the area. So when we first started out, we were kind of looking at, possible future growth, and we got to a number that was about right under 16,000 square feet. And that was just kind of everything that we were kind of looking at, and through pretty high level. So through meeting and then laying out the building, we were able to pare that down. And we are still looking at some areas that are still, some other areas that could be considered to be, are they right size, can they be smaller? So from the program, we developed a new building. We wanted to see how the spaces that we programmed needed to relate, and so we went into with a brand new building design of floor plan, and talked with the police department on what are their thoughts and on how it functions, the adjacencies, areas next to each other, and we got pretty good comments back on that, and so we continued to refine it, and then we took the program and kind of this concept and we developed it into how this would work in the existing floor plan of the building that's already currently on site. And you can see kind of the black lines here. This will be the existing walls of the building. This front portion here is pretty low, and it's not built very well, so we would see that also as probably a new addition to it. But just kind of for your frame of reference, that the dark lines there are the existing building. We've had our structural engineer come and look through it, and all of this portion here is still pretty in really good condition. There'll need to be some repairs to it. It's a masonry building, so there'll need to be some repairs, but and all in all, it's very, very well constructed yet. Some of these were, possible options of maybe reducing some area. So we'll continue to look at those as we move into schematic design. This is the site plan for the new concept. So you can see we moved the buildings back. This is the existing metal building on site that we would continue to see on site, and the police department would utilize. And we just threw some parking on in the front and the back, just kind of to separate it from the new or the existing concept, which you see here. So with the blue being the existing buildings on site, and then kind of building up around them. You can see this one's much closer to the highway, and that was one of the things that the committee did have some concern with, but we had multiple discussions on there. So the fun part, it was the cost estimate, and so this is, you can kind of see here, and realize you can't read it, but you're all looking for the bottom number, and I'll get there. But we wanted to show this because a project's just not about the construction. There's other things associated with it. This top part of our project budget is the construction costs. This would be the soft cost or the development cost, and then we finally get to a total project budget down at the bottom. So this is where we're sitting at currently. With the addition renovation of the existing building on site, total costs were in the $2.5 million range. And the new building on site, we're in the $2.85 million range. And this being fairly early on, and we just kind of at the end of the study, we like to include some contingencies in there because there's still a lot of unknowns out there that we haven't explored yet. So I guess there's a difference about $333,000 between the two concepts. Also, while we were meeting as a committee, there, I was some concerns as to the current condition of the building on site, what it currently looks like, and we wanted to show you kind of a few slides of some of our past work where we have taken an existing building, and we like to call them dramatic transformations, and turned it into what you see at Project Stay. So this is in South Sioux City, Nebraska. This is their city hall. And so you can see where it kind of started out. It was originally a grocery store, and then the city took it over, and then they moved in City Hall. And so where it started, this is what you see today. This is up in Orange City at Northwestern College. This is their student center. You can kind of see this started out as a factory, and then this is what turned it into today. And then here's an interior shot of that. So what it looked like before and then after. And you'll kind of see a recurring thing. We've done a lot of this on Orange City's campus. So here's another one. This was their former gymnasium at one time. When they were looking at doing the theater project, this was just being used to store paper. It's on a prominent corner on their campus and in Orange City itself, so we took it from there to here now, and this houses their theater department. Rainmaker Hall, we did a project for them where we provided a new library building. Rainmaker was their former library building. You can see the books here, so this is the before and then after what it looked like. So we renovated that building and saved it. Another shot of the interior. Then this is a project we did in Grand Island, Nebraska. This is we have a new career pathways institute for the Grand Island Public Schools. They kind of partnered with some of the community members to kind of make that alternative high school type of option for some students. The building started out as when they took it over, it was a abandoned warehouse, so you can kind of see where it started looking like and now what it looks like today. And here's an interior shot of that. So we know what the building currently looks like today, and the main thing we were looking at is, how would it function? How stable is it? How structurally sound is it? And we just want to show you some of these, so in case there were concerns on what that building looks like today, and we definitely can work with that and have no concerns really of making it look a presentable city as how you guys would like to see it. So. I guess, Scott, I don't know if you had anything else to add, but when we get towards the end of the study, we had a committee, got together, they voted, and what we're looking at is they recommend renovating in addition to the existing building that's on site.
Scott?
As far as funding the project, well, I should start with the site itself. As you all are aware, even when we bought the site and after we hired CMBA, we also visited with you about some of the encumbrances that are on site that would need to be handled. And so there is a sanitary sewer that goes underneath that metal building. In fact, there's two of them, a 10-inch and a 12-inch. And I do have your wastewater staff going through an evaluation of what they feel will be the proper relocation of those two sewers. We've got Dave Wilberning hired, and we in fact have a set of plans for the relocation of the water main that traverses across that property, goes underneath that metal building, and we intend to be bringing back to you, the council, a project, and I alluded to it in November when you approved that $4 million TIF potential projects. That project was on that list back in November to relocate the water main. It's a 4-inch, it's outdated, it doesn't meet any codes, and we go by 3 different codes. It doesn't meet any one of those. We would be putting a larger main and a main that can serve as fire hydrants out in Business 75 and on Blue Diamond Drive. So that project's coming forward, and it's basically designed, probably within the next month or 6 weeks, we'll be bringing it to your attention. Next, we visited with Mid-American Energy. They have a natural gas line. They have an overhead power line. In visiting with those folks, they feel that since the site has been not operated for some time already, and still won't be operated, if you will, until this construction should get done, that they're going to treat it as a new expansion. And as such, the relocation of their gas line and their electric line will be under their relocation policy, whereby 3 years average annual revenue will be used on the new police station to offset the cost of the relocation. They expect no cost to the city because of that. So that addresses all those utilities. We will be bringing a legal document to you to vacate and accept the vacation of the various easements that Mid-America has and that the city has on that site. So any expansions around the building or the fact that there's an existing building on the easements now, that can all go away and we can be legal by our own code. Okay, so that'll be forthcoming. Looking at financing, we're going to be dealing with 3 fiscal years, FY16, FY17, and FY18, for the balance of this project. And as such, we will have the opportunity to take monies out of local option sales tax, the regular budget of the police department, as well as the TIF revenues, in order to pull the whole financing package together on this project. And we will probably do that in all 3 fiscal years, even the current fiscal year that we're sitting in now. In looking at our finances, we believe that the city is in financial shape such that the engineering, architectural, and the construction can be internally financed by the city's finances. We believe that at the end of the construction, or near the end, we would be asking you to consider some short-term bonding so that the funds in local option sales tax can catch up to the expenditure. But that's the only reason. So we've had at least one conversation with John Danos, your bond counsel, relative to that, and he doesn't see any problem between now and 18 months from now in order to do so. And so the long and short of it is that we would internally borrow to finance the engineering, architectural, and the construction, and sometime near the end of the project, construction-wise, we would sell the bonds. We would not do that in the short term. I have visited with Stu and Tim and Jay, representing the police department, and they are willing to take a look at the furnishings, fixtures, equipment, security, and all the like over the next 3 fiscal years and see what needs to be replaced or what's going to be used and brought over from the old police station to the new, and just get that all figured out. But we need more time to figure that out, and we would use the normal budgeting process for capital equipment and capital improvements to finance those types of expenditures. The local option sales tax, as we're looking at it today, would be used exclusively for that which is not eligible under TIF. TIF, as you all know, I think by now, vertical infrastructure of public buildings cannot be financed by TIF. Therefore, we do not intend to finance this building by TIF. Local option sales tax would be used for the building, the AE fees, that's the architectural and engineering fees, commissioning of the building after it's built, the programming that you see before you today, which had an expense to it, as well as the original purchase. So that's what LOST would be used for. TIF would be used for the utility relocates, sewer, the water, if there is any cost on the electric and gas, and again, I don't think there's going to be, access to the site off of the two streets, site paving, internal to the project, but not part of the building, any fencing around the site, and demolition of anything on the site would be used as TIF. Questions in that regard?
Couple of questions, Scott. Regarding relocation of the water and wastewater,
Yes.
with either location, whether the new location or the existing location, they were required to be moved, even with the new building site?
If it's a new building pushed back, it'd be directly on top of all four of those
Okay.
utilities, then it would be mandatory. With this site that you're looking at right here, using the old shell, we could squeak by, but for it to the existing metal building. That's a violation of your own code.
Okay.
We had given CSS the permission to do so. I don't condone that for our own building. So I think either way, we need to relocate those. And the water main is so far out of code and out of any kind of rule or regulation that that's a no-brainer in my book. And we need better connections along that Business 75 anyway. And that leaves the sanitary. The sanitary is oversized for what we need today. And so I think the relocation of it is most appropriate at this time. Wow. And there was light. These are the new LEDs, by the way.
Is there a lack of flow problem in that sewer? Wasn't there some kind of a lack of flow, which was part of the issue, and because CSS didn't use enough to make it flow, and
Yeah, your memory is pretty good. There's a 10-inch and a 12-inch servicing the same area. There is not enough flow coming from the south going through those two mains to provide proper clean-out velocity. So by downsizing to the minimum that 10 states and DNR requires 8-inch, we would be doing a much better job.
Can I guess, I ask our AE, even with the existing concept, it should qualify for the Mid-American New Construction Program, correct?
I believe so. And we've actually been contacted by the White Group. I don't know if someone may have already talked to them about it, but I received a call, and we can definitely look into those programs.
Well, I've been at a number of these meetings, and, you know, architects are right up there with stop signs, so that's not very high on my list. Scott will vouch for that. I mean, you guys didn't know that, but that's the truth. But they've done a tremendous job trying to listen to the police people and to the city people and to even the silly accountant and try to make it all work. And I'm impressed with what they came up with, because even though we moved it around just a little bit and tweaked it, it's not like it's not going to fit for our police. They've sat there, they've had good comments, in fact, really outstanding comments on the thing. You know, the only thing the accountant still wants to know is, we're not going to use that contingency thing. That's just a false item, okay? Just make it clear that we don't get into that.
You got to watch HGTV.
Well, but we have asked these guys numerous times about the existing, because when those numbers get that close and so forth, we get, okay, now wait a minute, are we going to go in there and are we going to have a big sinkhole? Are we going to have something else? The roof going to cave in? We've asked them a number of times. They've taken other architectural superstars, let's call them, into that building. and they believe it's structure and it's sound. And yeah, there's gonna be some repair work, no different than they had on those ones they were showing pictures. And that's what we asked them to do, was to bring some examples to show you that they're not just gonna put some mud on a wall and call it good. No, that's not what we're looking for. That's not what we want as our footprint to our town. We want it to look right, we want it to look new, we want it to look good. And I think they've got a good plan.
So are you comfortable, are those numbers we're looking at, I know Rex doesn't want to talk contingencies, but with that, are we basically talking top dollar here for either the renovation or the new?
I hope so. Like I said, we're just
He's a
starting
firm
out.
baby.
We just have some lines on paper right now, and like I said, there's still a lot of unknowns. We haven't even started looking at what the building's gonna look like. So,
Okay.
we do, the pricing we use is from a national pricing guide, so we feel comfortable we can work within that number.
So the difference between the two options is probably pretty reasonable.
I helped with the original, I'm Todd Moss, I helped with the original estimate, so maybe I can respond to that. As Brent was saying, we use a national database called Means Cost Estimating Guide, so it's a national database. We also use our own database of projects, but there was not one that really compared really quite well to that. We're a long ways from bid date, and there's a lot of things that can happen. One is as we start to develop the exterior, we're gonna know what the materials are. We don't know what all those materials are. That's one reason for a contingency. Another reason is, especially in remodeling, you can have surprises. We've got a site survey, but who knows when the contractor starts digging if we don't find an underground oil tank or something like that. That's another reason. Third reason is, did I say market conditions right? I mean, we don't know what the market condition is gonna be now. So we've got unknowns in design on materials, we've got unknowns that you have with construction. So we do think there has to be a contingency. We use the national database and it was quite high, and we don't think costs are that high in this project. So we didn't try to pad the budget, we didn't try to give you top dollar or a real high number. We thought, we put in what it would cost, and we went through, as Brent showed you that estimate, a high level of detail with Scott over the course of multiple times, and talking a lot about, how is furniture going to be financed, and do you want this in the budget, or are you going to handle that differently, all those kinds of things. So a lot of time has been put into the budget. We have a very good record. Yes, occasionally there are surprises, but we feel pretty comfortable with the budget that's been set. We do advise on keeping contingencies at this level, because there's a lot more design work we have to do yet.
Does the new buildings total include demolition of the old building?
Yes.
It does, it's in there. Because 300,000 difference doesn't sound like a lot of money, but if that's what the committee has come up with you guys, I'm not gonna go against what a committee spent hours trying to put together. I'm
Exactly.
fine with that. The only thing you said in there is during remodel, when you come up against the unknown. Yeah, but, no, that sounds good.
Question I've got, Todd or Brenda, is the fact that energy efficient, are you working with Mid-American Energy or somebody on this? I think the guy's out of Humboldt, am I right?
Well, we've done the Mid-American, we've done their energy efficiency program and other projects where, we get together and we go through the design.
Okay.
You're also in Iowa, so we have to, they've adopted the IECC, the International Energy Code, so we have to conform to that on the project.
I know when we started this, the engineer for Mid-American Energy, has come to us and as an engineer, to whoever we get with the architect to work with, that they'd like to be a part of it.
And that's that commercial new construction program, which.
Yeah.
And we've done that many times, so we're familiar with that.
Okay, so the guys, you're.
They've been notified twice already, but they also know that we weren't at a point where they could start visiting.
Sure.
Okay, that's all I asked.
And I'm
Just-
guessing we'll have Jason Parker looking at some of this too.
If you approve that contract, yes.
He would be on top of
I agree.
all of that stuff too.
Okay.
The only other question I have is how far out does this project? And we've got several policemen and is this building designed for projections of police needs for the next 30, 50, 70 years? Where's that at?
I think we looked around, I think the 20-year mark was looked at. And we, when we first started out, we had a higher footprint. And so they do have some future needs, but we also evaluated how far are those needs out. And we didn't want to do anything really past 10 years because, it'll need to be remodeled by the time, the carpet's worn out and before you even really use that space. So we, during the committee meetings, we've met with the police department, and we kind of found that happy meeting them where they are now and, what'll get them by for the future. And I think we're in that 20-year range.
Do those future needs go by projected population or federal regulation or what? Or
Yeah, I think it was more on the projected population and similar PDs in similar sized
Okay.
communities.
Yeah, from an energy efficiency standpoint, boy, we can really blow the annual budget if we get too many square feet that's not needed today.
Absolutely.
And you're building it, first cost, you're heating it, cooling it, maintaining it for the next how many years before it's used. So we really felt as a committee that we don't want to be busting at the seams right from the get-go. So a 10-year, like Brent said, is probably the most appropriate, that we plan for that, and that needs beyond that point should be in addition to the building.
I make a motion approving the Lamar's Police Department's new police station using the existing building shell and authorizing staff to negotiate architectural fees for Phase 2 design development.
Is there a second?
So moved.
A motion been made and second approving Lamar's Police Department new police station using existing building shell and authorizing staff to negotiate an architectural fee for Phase 2 design development. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And thanks so much, Brent and Todd, for
Thanks, Jim.
sharing this with us.
It's been a good process.
Yeah,
Fun work, really fun.
it's,
Yeah, because it was give and take. You can see the comments
Yeah,
Scott made.
yeah.
It wasn't all just as simple. It was give and take. And they sit there and took all the input and come up with a different little plan, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
They probably don't want me to negotiate their fee, though, right?
Especially with contingencies.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the next topic is E5 City Energy Management Program. SAMP, the council received the following at the February 16th meeting and tabled action to check if Mid-American would participate in the cost. Number 1 was Franklin Energy Proposal. Number 2, Lamar's Energy Action Plan, preliminary copy to be completed in February. Note, CEMP through IDEA has completed by February 2016. The administration recommends council contract with the Franklin Energy to continue to work under CEMP or CEMP for at least one additional year, 3/1/16 through 2/28/17, with a maximum cost of $10,000. The financial impact is shown on the preliminary copy of the Energy Action Plan. Anticipated energy savings are to be estimated to be around $40,000. The contract could cost up to $12,000 for 1 year. Comments or questions on this from any council members?
I just want to respond to
Scott?
John's questions from last meeting. We did numerous things in checking to see if there was some kind of funding source. Britain checked, I should put that in the present tense, is checking with her energy efficiency team. She felt that Mid-American Energy doesn't have a direct program that would pay for this type of work.
The study.
This type of work meaning hiring Franklin
Okay.
to assist us over the next year. So, but she wasn't going to stop there. She was going to check in with her own team, her energy efficiency team, to see if their annual budget would substantiate a part or some of this cost. And to date, we haven't heard back from her on that. In addition, we, the city, checked with what's called the Mid-American Energy Foundation. That's a separately held board. So far, we don't see a match within their guidelines. Jason Parker, that is, checked with the REAP program for a grant, and there's not a fit there. We did check with the Iowa Energy Center, and we couldn't make a match on that. So long and short of it is, at this juncture, we don't think there's a funding mechanism out there that's within a foundation or Mid-America's program. So I would still recommend today that we approve this, and before we get into the heart of it, if you will, I will continue to work with Jason to see if we can't uncover something.
But either way, we can still get rebates for specific projects.
Oh, anything that we come up with, we will get rebates to the Mid-America
Okay.
programs, yes.
Did that answer your question, John?
Thank you. Quick question, it says we have a maximum cost of 10,000, then right below it, it says could cost up to 12,000. Can you explain that, Scott?
Yes, Franklin Energy had estimated that it would cost $12,000. I'm suggesting to you, that's my recommendation to you, we're just going to cap it off at $10,000. So he will put in slightly less time over the next year. I think we can get by with 10.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Motion approving the energy efficiency consultation service with Franklin Energy for 1 year, beginning March 1st, 2016, at a maximum cost of $10,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second approving energy efficiency consultation services for Franklin Energy for 1 year, beginning March 1st, 2016, at a maximum cost of $10,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Dick, if I could just
Yeah.
highlight, Mid-American Energy has performed on the, when you approved it, it was 125. Later, we discovered it was only 123. But needless to say, all 123 of the 250 watts have been changed out to LEDs. All of the 30 100 watts have been changed out. So when you travel and you want to look at those, I'd welcome your comments. Those are done. And I thank Mid-American Energy for jumping on it.
I had an experience when I came back to work the other day. I didn't realize this, but they changed all the lights in my office. And I walked in and flipped on the lights, and my God, I couldn't believe it. I don't know how we got along this far this long. I thought I was getting older or something, you know? Thank you, Davey. Okay,
I also might comment that the American Bank across the street saw how well that lit out the highway, and they changed all
Yeah.
their parking lot lights down. It's lit up like a Roman candle down there right now, so.
My review of it is that the LEDs give a much broader, better, more lit intersection.
And they don't glare at you when
They
you're
do.
driving up to them.
They're on the ground. The
They're
light is
down.
on the ground
It's on the ground
Yeah.
right where you need it. I think it's highly superior.
versus just all over the place.
Yeah.
Scattered.
Okay, moving on to E6, assistance request from NORAM Cold Storage Incorporated. NORAM Cold Storage Incorporated is proposing an expansion of its business operations and creation of additional jobs in Lamar's, Iowa. NORAM Cold Storage Incorporated is pursuing financial assistance for a portion of the costs of this project, and as such is requesting approval from the city of Lamar's to submit applications to the Iowa Economic Development Authority for funding through the High Quality Jobs Program. The LBIC is recommending city fulfill the local match with local tax abatement as allowed by Iowa Code Chapter 427B. The financial impact, this represents a pass-through grant only, and the tax abatement amounts to $745,818 over a 5-year period. Neil, you want to explain that just a little bit?
Sure,
So that
Neil.
everybody's aware of what we're doing here.
Sure. Neil Adler, representing the Lamar's Business Initiative Corporation. This is a resolution which I'm happy to say I think all of you have been through this process a number of times because that denotes the fact that we continue to grow and expand especially with our industries. We have submitted an initial application to the state of Iowa on behalf of Norham Cold Storage, and we have received word back from the state that they would qualify for an award. Part of the process of getting that award is this resolution from the city acknowledging your acceptance and your support of the project, and also acknowledging the fact that you're willing to adhere to the Iowa Code on the 5-year partial tax abatement.
Any questions regarding that? Hearing none? I would-
Motion adopting Resolution 16-3 approving high-quality jobs program application to the Iowa Economic Development Authority for the expansion of the project of Norham Cold Storage, Inc.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, adopting resolution number 16-3, approving the high-quality jobs program application to the Iowa Economic Development Authority for the expansion project of Norham Cold Storage Incorporated. Can we have a roll call on that, Bev?
Marcinko?
Yes.
Big Tom?
Yes.
Knapp?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Moving on to number 7, E7, rail safety improvements. Attached is a letter and agreement from the Iowa Department of Transportation between the UP Railroad, the City of Lamar's, the Iowa Department of Transportation, and the total amount of safety improvements. The UP Railroad is 5%, which is $21,050. The City of Lamar's is 5%, which is $21,050. And the Iowa Department of Transportation is 90%, which is $378,900, for a total amount of improvements of $421,000. This is going to be at 12th Street Southwest Railroad Crossing, 12-inch, 12 LED flashing light signals, gate arms, 2 gate arms, and prediction, how do you pronounce that one?
Circuitry?
Circuitry, okay, yeah. The administration does recommend the council for approval on this. The financial impact to the city is, city's cost share is $21,050, and that's financed by UR and TIF revenue for $421,000, and we're spending 21 of it. It's a pretty good return.
I did see in the agreement, it says that it'll be subject to final numbers, so does that mean everybody steps, if the project costs more, everybody steps to the plate, all 3 parties, to finance additional money?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion approving the agreement between the City of Lamar's, UP Rail Company, and Iowa Department of Revenue Project RRP-RR18180-8A-00 for safety improvement programs at 12th Street Southwest, and it'll be back in a couple months.
Second the motion.
Motion made and second, approving the agreement between City of Lamar's, UP Railroad Company, and Iowa Department of Transportation Project number RRP-RR18-180 in parentheses 8A00 for safety improvement at 12th Street Southwest. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
You just approved the second one, as you know, previously, what was it, maybe December, you approved the one at 18th Street?
18th Street, yeah.
And this is at 12th, and we have yet a third one coming forward at some point, once it gets through the state system, and that's out on Marble. And I've kind of given a nod of support to Tom Roy, the county engineer, and that would be split 90% state, and the other 10% would be split 50-50 local versus railroad, in that case CN, and the local share would be split between the county and the city.
2.5%.
2.5% each. So I took the liberty to say to Tom, I am confident the council will approve that. So that's how we're at least submitting it.
I think you're pretty safe.
That's what I thought.
Okay, moving on, housing need assessment.
No. Final
No.
block.
E8.
Oh,
E8,
I'm sorry.
still in vacation mode.
He's doing fine. I think he's doing wonderful.
He is.
I want to go back.
The fact that he made it back here,
Dock the heck out of my salary, I can smell that one coming.
I think they can knock it much lower.
Thanks, Rex. That's the reason I brought it up. Where are we at here?
E8, here you go. Here, just do this one.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Final plat, east end of the back door 40 edition. On February 23rd, 2016, the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed and approached the final plat of east end of back door 40 edition. The subdivision lies approximately 3/4 of a mile south of C-38 on Lake Avenue. The subdivision consists of one lot lying outside the corporate city limits of the city, however, within the 2-mile jurisdiction, and therefore requires both city council and the board of supervisors' approval. The staff does recommend the approval of the final plat. Any questions on that? You had a chance?
motion adopting resolution 16-4 approving the final plat of east end of back door 40 edition.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second adopting resolution 16-4, approving the final plat of the east end of back door 40 edition.
It's south of where 18th would go through if 18th went through, right?
No,
18th, no.
24th?
No, it's farther out than that.
go right by Lampert's and keep going south.
There's C-38.
But I mean, it's not in any of our comp plan streets
No.
as the present time. Okay, that's the only thing I was.
Question?
Yep.
Yeah, it's way out there.
Okay, can we have a roll call on that, Ben?
Knapp,
Yes,
Rexnagel,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes,
Goodchild.
Yes.
Scott, that's not
Motion
in
carried.
our advance for our rail? Is that, where does that go in relation to that? That's further east of that? Yeah, I'm talking about the master
west of
plan.
Lake. Okay.
Where it comes out.
I guess that's what I was referring to originally was, I didn't know if some of those streets were going through.
You know what I'm talking about, Scott?
I do, and I think that the master plan for rail should be north of this location.
It connects down on the
Did
curve.
that stay on the north side of C-38, that master plan, Scott?
No, we're on the south side.
On the master plan?
The master plan of rail would be south of C-38, but
Okay.
north of this tract of.
No, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, that's what I was wondering.
That's what I wasn't asking the right question.
Yeah.
You have that aerial map, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah,
It should be, the rail would be going through that real blonde area, farmland,
okay.
the lighter area.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to number 9, housing need assessment. Simco was hired by the city of Lamar's in August of 2015 to prepare a housing needs assessment. The final document is complete and needs to be approved by the council. And today we have Kirk Lehman back with us. How are you, Clerk?
Doing well.
Any questions or sharing ideas or thoughts on him? So, I'm going to turn it over to you, Clerk.
Okay, well, as you all have a copy of the housing needs assessment now to look over, I'm just here to thank you for working with me so hard on this document, and then also ask that it be adopted by the city of Lamar's to move forward with some of the recommendations in there for promoting development, trying to work with city policy and things like that. So I don't know if you have any more questions for me. I know I've presented this several times, but
And this, the content of this, Kirk, will be the basic substance of the housing chapter in the comp plan?
some of it will be, but not all of it. For comprehensive plan, you will have more visioning and public involvement, looking at not only what analytically the data says the demand is, but also what the community wants housing to look like. So there will be some additional visioning for housing in the comprehensive plan. So, but the bulk of it will be made up by this housing needs assessment.
And I did see you, after that meeting we had, you did change the information regarding the school numbers. Thank you very much.
I put in a few additional little comments in there, streamlines and
Great.
stuff, so.
Any other questions for Kirk? It's quite a project Kirk took on there.
Thank you.
So much.
Well done.
Entertain a motion?
Yep.
Motion adopting resolution number 16-5, adopting the 2015 through 2020 Lamar's Housing Needs Assessment.
Second.
Motion made and second, adopting resolution number 16-5, adopting the 2015 to 2020 Lamar's Housing Need Assessment. Can we have a roll call on that, Bev, please?
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, moving on to discussion on the council. John?
Yep.
Do you have anything?
Scott, I'd ask one thing. The roads have taken a severe beating because of the freeze thaws, and of course, Highway 75 South has had some ruts which have been cleaned up to some extent, but could you give the public an update basically on our plans for Highway 70 south of Highway 3, Highway 75?
I have contacted two engineering firms to give me and the city a proposal to do the engineering and preparation of the plans and specifications to essentially white top from Business Highway 75, from Iowa Highway 3 south to where the asphalt ends and the Portland cement concrete section begins. So that's about halfway between Airport Road and 18th Street. I'm waiting for those to come in and checking with them recently. I should get it within the next week. And if I do, there'll be a little bit of a negotiation between the two firms. I can then have it on the city council agenda for the March 15th council meeting. What complicates it just a little bit is what's going to be a TEEP study at the intersection of Business 75, 6th Street and 6th Avenue, the Dairy Queen corner, in anticipation of Hy-Vee food stores locating on that triangular piece of property bordered by 8th and 6th and Lincoln. We want to make sure that the intersection of 6th, 6th, and Business 75 is set up appropriately. So we could end up with two proposals, one to study that intersection and one to really look at the entire route for resurfacing. In the meantime, your staff, Public Works staff, has been out there using cold mix. And as spring comes upon us, we might have to engage the pavement doctor from Fort Dodge, who has done that emulsified product just like the DOT does. And I see that they just did that within the last week from Highway 3 north. And so I think we might have to do a similar exercise Highway 3 south. So we'll keep up with it until we get involved with the project, but I see a relatively short turnaround. A, there's no federal funds on it, and B, the white topping is a pretty simplified process.
And the first portion from Highway 3 to basically the truck stop will be completed sooner because of the water main work?
Well, we hope to have this project I just described to just follow suit right after the water main. So we're not redoing and then redoing the redo. So yes, I hope to integrate the two together.
Answer your question, John?
If I could, Slofeld Engineering was hired to do the tedious task of doing the engineering plans for the handicap ramps at Plymouth and Central. And I talked to Pat Bickett of Slofeld. They're within a couple of days of having that complete. So once that is complete, then we can negotiate with the contractor to pull those strips of brick and asphalt out and put in a concrete overlay in those strips instead of what's there now. That was the goal of the project, and so we haven't forgot that one either, and that's going to be hopefully somewhat first thing this spring. We'd like to take care of that. DOT kind of put the brakes on it because they wanted to see us address all 8 locations where the handicap ramps come down and meet the pavement. Very similar to what we went through on 4th Avenue East. So we're accommodating.
Back to Business 75, with an overlay, that will bring our curbs to a shallow curb, right?
No.
No, I don't believe so. I think one of 2 methods are going to have to be used. Either A, we mill out the asphalt surface to such a depth that the white topping would fit right in and allow the curb and gutter sections to remain.
Okay.
And the second method would be to not do so much milling, go right over the top, and then replace the curb and gutter as well.
Okay, I was curious about the curb and on that, okay.
Answer your question, Frank?
Yeah, absolutely.
The latter method is what we did on 4th.
4th, right, that's.
The curbs came off, and today we have new curbs.
Which is a pretty good looking product. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a very good looking product, but.
It does make that slight adjustment with the vertical height of the curb, and knowing many of those areas can't afford that is why we may not quite use that process.
So for our citizens to understand it, what we plan to do is have 75 look like the road right next to the, adjacent to the courthouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
I think since it's an arterial street, I think that would really showcase the entrance into Lamar's.
And they would do that one side at a time, I assume, and put the traffic on the other side?
Yes.
Can't lay it all in one like you did on, up the courthouse.
No, right.
Okay.
Shut her down for a month.
Detours all over the place.
Yeah.
Clark, do you have anything else, John?
Nope.
Clark?
I'm good, thank you.
Rex?
I'm gonna pass today.
Okay,
I'll pass, thank you.
good. Okay, Scott, do you have any?
We have 3 more annual reports. So Scott, would you like to give your on Public Works?
Good afternoon.
All right, Scott.
Should have the sheet for the street division out of the Public Works there. I'll read through it. If you guys got any questions, ask them afterwards there. With the Public Works building come close to completion in January 2015, there were still numerous projects within the building that the Public Works staff needed to tackle. Some of those duties included putting up sheetrock, priming, painting all the walls, building and installing the cabinets in the break room, sanding, staining, and varnishing of all the doors, trim windows, and the cabinets. During the month, we also had some freezing rain and 6.5 inches of snow that was plowed off the streets. In February, we cleaned out the old Public Works building, and we moved all the equipment and tools to our new building. During this time, we evaluated all the items in the building, determined if they were of use to us or if it wasn't, and placed in a designated area to be separated for a city garage sale that was hosted in the old Public Works building, and then that stuff was priced out. During the middle of February is when we moved into our new building. We had 11.5 inches of snow for the month for snow removal. March, we still had a lot of organizing to do at the new building. We filled 63 potholes, installed ped crossing lights at 12th and 3rd Avenue Southwest, took Christmas lights down, snow removal downtown yet, installed new traffic cabinet and controller at Central Avenue and Plymouth Street, and we worked on sheetrocking the inside of the golf course maintenance shed. April through October, we had about 30 inches of rain throughout these 7 months that put a damper on some of the projects. Here is just a few of the projects we worked on during the 7-month period. We worked on final grading and landscaping around the new Public Works building. We hauled about 130 loads of crushings for parking around the new Public Works building, golf course parking, and the parking up on the municipal pond. We cleaned, gilled, and prepared sites for seating at 14th Avenue Southeast, K-49 lift station, golf course, the side hill out there, Key Avenue Northwest, waterway behind Dean Foods, Highway 3 West Walk Trail, Weber Detention Basin, Foster Park, Lincoln Street Ditch, Public Works Building, Postal Playhouse, and that comes out to about 27 loads of hydro seeding, approximately about 6 acres of ground. We also hosted the appliance and tire drop-off at the old Public Works Building. We prepared Public Works Building for the open house we had in August. We installed 800 foot of drainage pipe behind the Public Works Building. We also took down 12 storm damaged trees, cleaned catch basins after the heavy rains we had, and painted school crosswalks, filled 321 potholes, and we also hung alley art when needed downtown in the alleys. Put up or moved 42 signs, which 12 of them were historical signs. We do monthly siren tests. We hauled 20 loads of black dirt to Foster Park for reseeding, 32 loads of black dirt to Clark out at the golf course for the side hill that he reshaped for us. And we worked with Vanderpool's when they replaced the 400 foot of bad storm sewer on 18th Street, which averages about 500 gallons a minute flowing down that every day from wells. So we had to stop that water with pumps and everything, pump it out into the street so they could get the work done. I enlisted Thrasher Company out of Nebraska with Scott's okay after he looked at it to do some void filling under streets on 3 different projects with the polyfoam. These were streets that have been mud jacked in the past and did not hold up. Cost on one project of tearing concrete out compared to having a polyfoam was about a $40,000 savings with a 5-year guarantee behind it. We scraped up 3,500 foot of sod off the ditch out at 24th Street, and Boyers hauled dirt to us off of 27th Street. We level packed it and brought it up to grade. November through December, we hauled and spread half of the compost pile out to 24th Street on the Dave Langle field where we disturbed the dirt and used it for erosion control on the gravel road. The other half of the compost pile was spread on the north field, the field north of the grass and twig site. We started on First Avenue Southeast by the fire station number 2 and hauled 18 loads of dirt away and brought the road down to grade so that Vanderpool's could come in and pour that street. We had to go through 120 Christmas decoration, checking bulbs, fixing wiring problems on some of them, and then got them hung up after Thanksgiving. We also started going through all the equipment and fixed what needed to be fixed and got all the snow equipment geared up for the winter season. We were also working with the public facilities on the remodel of the lower level convention center during the winter months. November and December, we had a total of 25 inches of snow. And real quick, I just want to say thanks to Brad and his guys, and I want to say thanks to my guys for the work they put in through the winter months. And I had one guy that was off for shoulder surgery for 2 months. I want to thank Gail Sitzman. His guy stepped up and put a guy in the truck for us. And I want to thank the Mars Police Department for, on the nights that it snowed, driving around, make sure that all the odd even was being, everybody was obeying that and make sure the cars were cleared from downtown, which makes our job a lot easier. So by you guys having that being enforced really has helped us this year, so appreciate it.
Good enough. Glad to hear that.
Thanks.
Thanks you, Scott.
Hello, Brad Epling with the Public Facilities, part of Public Works. Cheaters on here. Public Works, we went through a fair amount of change in 2015. From the department changes to different maintenance schedules. And these all proved to be very effective and functional for us. As we approach our 2016 season, we are again going to try some new changes to our maintenance operations to see how they pan out also. February, we did move into our newly constructed Public Works building. As Scott stated, you know, the shell of the building was put up by contractors with the office area, maintenance room, benches, shelving, constructed in-house by our staff. We did have the open house in August with a lot of citizens, visitors, and news media stopping in to tour our facility. Most of the visitors weren't aware of all the different tasks and the amount of acreage that our department maintains. So The open house was also very informative for the public in that aspect. The new building really boosted morale and made, daily operations so much easier. The new golf course maintenance shed was also completed with office area and shop area completed by our staff, as Scott stated also. It was decided last year that the city was no longer going to mow and maintain the railroad right-of-ways, some of the ditches and areas that weren't considered city property anymore. We were able to cut down on some seasonal staff that way, save some money on fuel and chemicals, and free up some of our staff for other needs that needed to be done. The parks, cemeteries, and city properties went through a fair amount of general maintenance, and some playground repairs, reseeding, tree trimming, landscaping, and upgrades. There was quite a bit of that done last season also. Ice cream days and the Bluegrass Festival are both busy times for us, with moving picnic tables, trash cans, and benches to a number of different areas around the city to make these events run smoothly. We will continue to work with the Chamber and these agencies with these events in the future. We did receive a $1,000 grant from Mid-America Energy's Trees Please program. This money was used towards purchasing more fruit trees for our community orchard at Adler Park, which is actually producing a lot of fruit right now. Not right now, but in the season. But we also did receive a $10,000 grant from Wellmark Foundation to go towards purchasing a utility vehicle. This vehicle was purchased for general maintenance and to clear our walk trail of snow in the winter. It's really been a great asset to our, our department with cleaning the snow this winter with all the heavy snows we've had. We've been also working on the changeover to LED lighting in several of our city buildings. Some of them are completed, some of them are still under construction yet. We're currently working on the remodel of the lower level of the convention center. This area has now been sheetrocked. We've got new ceilings, new LED lighting throughout the lower level. We've got a new bar and coat rack area. This pretty much was designed and remodeled with the intent to increase the rental of the lower level, for events. The upper level's been remodeled, so having the lower level remodeled now, I think we're going to have more rentals. We had 50 burials in 2015, 16 of them at Rest Haven, and 34 at the Memorial Cemetery. I guess in the year to come, we hope to get started on some new CBP projects and receive more grants and accomplish more on our playground and park maintenance. Well, with that being said, I'd like to thank our staff and volunteers also for all their hard work and efforts throughout the year.
Any questions for Brad?
Thank you, sir. Good job.
Brad, you do snow removal on the golf course, the walking trail? Is that also the cart path? Are they the same thing?
Yes, basically the same
Is there a
thing.
reason you don't come up, and I don't know what street it is, but you don't bring it up off the course between two houses, some condos there, and bring it up to the street? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, way on the north end there.
Yeah,
on that little U that comes
A
around.
couple people have asked me about that, why that's not opened up.
They're supposed to be,
Okay. Your guys are supposed to be?
Yeah.
Okay, well, just check on it, whatever. I was brought up to me a couple times.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
Brad, just a second. This man right here is responsible for the look and the work at the lower level of the convention center. You've already complimented how it looks, but I want to publicly say that thank you, Brad. He's very talented.
it really did.
Also a lot of work upstairs when we did that.
Well, he did the whole upstairs
Yep.
too.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we're gonna go
Oh,
to
here we
the
go.
hospital.
Save the best to last.
That's usually what people say when they see you.
And that's usually where I finish, too. In case you don't know me, Bill Rosak with Lamar's Ambulance Service. 2015, we celebrated our 40th year. I'd like to compliment our staff, too. We've got 26 people that are on the roster. About 20 of those are scheduled on a regular basis. The other 4 are kind of auxiliary, which if we run into a problem, we can call them and they can come in. Real briefly, I think you guys have the printout of the report. Attachment A, rather than, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but the state of Iowa required us to start transitioning our scope of practice into 4 areas, going from 5. This coming year, 2016, will be our last year. The paramedics will be transitioning. For all case and purposes, we've already transitioned, so everything should be good with the state. We have individuals that we basically provide basic life support and advanced life support. The EMTs, the EMTIs are basically provide the basic life support. Anything that gets above that is the paramedic level, the advanced EMTs and the RNs. One thing nice, again, we provide advanced level and basic level. Right now we have just under 50% of our staff can provide advanced level. So that being the case, we are down 1 person from last year. Roxy Cruz decided to retire after 25 years of service to the crew. Roxy was one of 4 people that started the paramedic program. Steve Musson started in, actually in 1998, I believe, is when we took our paramedic class. It was Steve Musson, Byron Boltice, Roxy, and I. Steve passed away in 2002. Byron passed away just over a year ago, and Roxy retired today, so guess who that leaves. And no, I was not here when the thing started 40 years ago. But I do want to take a shout out to Roxy. Roxy's done an excellent job. She's also kind of mentored 2 other people, my son Mike Rosacker and Greg Gengler, into moving from EMT to a paramedic level at that time. Under vital statistics, we were dispatched 920 times during 2015. We transported, treated, or assessed 959 patients. It broke down to, we did 900 patients under Unit 1 and 59 under Unit 2. It was basically a 2.8% increase from 2014. Like I said before, we provide advanced life support or basic life support. One thing that was kind of surprising to me was 49.4% of our calls were classified as advanced care. 50.6% were BLS or basic life support. So basically, half our calls are under both categories. 61% of our patients were transported to Floyd Valley Hospital, while 15% were to Mercy, and about 10% were to St. Luke's. Exhibit D basically shows the breakdown of calls per hour per day. One thing that I look at is during the day shift, which is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 62% of our calls occurred during that time, and then from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., about 38%. Under Exhibit E, that's basically our payer mix. We had 46% of the patients we transported were Medicare patients. Blue Cross Blue Shield provided 26.8% of our payer mix, and then other insurance accounted for 23%. The Medicaid was 3.8%. The reason I bring that out is because Medicare and Medicaid, basically, we set the rates, but they will pay what they think is reasonable, so we do not get paid 100% of that. And to a similar extent, Blue Cross Blue Shield does, they pay better than Medicare and Medicaid, but it's not the full 100%. So you can see that, like I said, Medicare patients provided almost half of our income for that year. Finally, the last thing I really want to mention, in 2013, the service purchased a LifePak 15, which basically is a heart monitor that we use basically on every call as far as blood pressures and stuff. If we suspect some type of cardiac issue,
the LifePak 15, we can hook that up if we sense it's what we call a STEMI, or basically it's a severe heart attack. We can take that, put a 12 lead on a person, transmit that to Floyd Valley Hospital or to Mercy, both hospitals in Sioux City and Sioux Falls. This gives time for the hospitals to get ready, plus it also gives them an opportunity to tell us how to treat the patient too. In 2015, we transmitted 83 EKGs to the area hospitals, and this is an increase of 60% over last year. I'm not saying that Lamar's has 60% more cardiac incidents, but I think we're recognizing the chest pain, the possibility of STEMI, so we're transmitting it, which is a good deal for the patient. In 2016, there's a program going on called Mission Lifeline, which is they're trying to get all the ambulance services to be able to transmit and therefore get people to the cath lab within 120 minutes, I think is what they're looking at. We've done that with the help of Air Care, but I think new protocol is going to be set up so if somebody comes in with a STEMI or the major heart attack, we'll keep them on our cot and then transfer them to Sioux City as soon as possible so we can make that 120-minute window. There's been 2 or 3 times this past year where we've actually transmitted from, I know one was in Seney. They had Air Care up and 10 minutes out before we got to the hospital. And that 120 minutes is from when we get to the patient's side to when they hit the cath lab in Sioux City. So we'll be reviewing that as the year goes on too. So under continuous quality improvements, you guys can read that, the accomplishments and challenges we've got. Just like everybody else, I'd like to thank all the other departments we work with for coordinating and making emergency medical service possible in Lamar's. If you have no questions, I'll let you guys adjourn.
Any questions for Bill?
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Scott, do you have anything else?
Just 2 things. This week, I'm knocking on wood that we're going to put water in the new water tower.
Good.
An actuator that runs a valve, a critical valve, was needed, and we had to wait almost an additional 30 days to get it. It did come on the 23rd, and it was installed on the 24th, and it was wired here recently. And so I think the water's going to go in this week. That then will mark, if that happens successfully, that'll mark substantial completion on the water tower. Finally.
Good.
Second thing is we've had trouble meeting our toxicity tests. I think I have enlightened the council on that previously. But we have begun the process of meeting with industry, Wells and Dean Foods. And they are both very cordial about the issue. And I have sent the Utilities Committee a copy of the report from that first meeting. On subsequent meetings, you guys will be also invited. But we do need to get that figured out because multiple failures of the toxicity test will mandate certain things from IDNR. And so to hedge that off, we need to be proactive. So more on that to come.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Thank you, Scott. Jason?
I want to acknowledge Greg Schmidt down there. He was offered and accepted code enforcement officer position. Retired from the police department. I believe your last shift was last Monday.
Last week Tuesday was my
Tuesday?
actual last shift, and I'm on some vacation time.
So thank him for spending his vacation time with us. I believe he's been in here every day for varying amounts of time, but